Hey y'all, Nico here. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for joining me. I'm Nico. Today I wanted to give you some tips and modifications and also a tutorial on how to get into Bakasana, also known as crow pose. Crow pose is good for strengthening your back, your core, your hips, your wrists, your shoulders, your arms, as well as your hamstrings. And it's good for stretching your glutes, your thighs, and your wrists. Crow pose is an arm balance, so be super careful when you're getting into crow pose because you can hurt yourself. So make sure someone is around to spot you, or again, just be extra careful. So first I'm going to show you a couple different ways on how to get into crow pose, and then I'm going to show you a couple modifications. So if you know you'll need to modify, or if you want to try modifications, I recommend grabbing a couple blocks, or if you have a blanket or maybe a small pillow that has a little bit of height to it, then you can use that for the modifications. Crow pose does help improve your balance and focus, but it also just requires a little bit of balance and focus and some core strength before you can really get into the full version of the pose. So just take your time as you go through learning Bakasana. It might just take some time to get your core to where you want it to be, so make sure you're working on core strengthening poses and core strengthening workouts, as well as balance poses, just to help you get where you want to be so you can prep yourself to be ready to move into full crow pose. So I will show you a couple of ways to get into crow pose. We'll start from a squatting position. So we're up on our toes, our knees are out wide. Then we're going to take our arms and kind of wrap them around our knees. Just trying to kind of feel our knees on the back of our arms, or just trying to get into a good position to start. And then go ahead and bring your hands down in front of you. Fingers are spread out wide, and you want to kind of press into those top portions of your fingers, really pressing down through the fingers. So then you can start to lift your hips and feel where those knees are going to rest. And you begin to shift your weight forward, bringing the weight into the hands. You might have to shimmy a little bit to feel where your knees should go. And then go ahead and lift one knee at a time. Rounding your back, pulling your heels in close to your butt, and straightening those arms out. And then gently come down and into Malasana squat. So for the second one, it's a similar way of getting into it, where we just kind of start from a higher squat. So kind of starting from in a standing position, bringing those feet underneath the hips, and bring the shoulders inside the knees. You're squatting down a bit, and then go ahead and feel where those knees should go. Some people you even see kind of bringing the knees outside of the shoulders, and they stay that way when they're up in crow, which is a little bit more difficult, but if you prefer that, feel free to do that version. Remember, we're pressing it down into the hands and the fingers, kind of rounding the spine a little bit, pressing through the arms and the shoulders. Feel where those knees should go. Getting nice and cozy on those forearms. Begin to shift your weight forward. Lifting one knee, then the other. Hug those heels in. Press those knees together. And coming down. Whew. So again, be careful with the wrists. This is really intense on your wrists. So to modify, we'll go ahead and grab our blocks. So option one, we're going to have a block behind us. And we're just using our block to kind of rest our feet on. So maybe you're coming up from your high squat, getting close to that block. And go ahead and bring your toes on the block. And then what you can do is just rest here, kind of getting that feeling, keeping your feet on the block, or lifting one foot at a time just to build that core strength and get the feel of what Bakasana should feel like. Trying to be light on that toe as you lift it and feel it out. Option 2, we're going to take our block, bring it in front of us on its tallest side. Sorry, I'm out of breath. This is a lot of work. Bringing your block up on its tallest side. What we're going to do is move into crow pose, resting our forehead on the block, and then lifting our head up off of the block. So block just gives us some elevation, somewhere to rest our forehead, to help us feel where our weight should go. And then we'll lift our head up, and then eventually maybe you can do it without the block. But the block is good here for some stability, some support, and to give you some confidence to go into crow pose. Now, when I was doing it before, you saw my arms come straight, but feel free to have a bend in those elbows as you come to Bakasana to begin. And then eventually you can straighten those arms out if you're feeling comfortable with it. So I'm gonna come down to my squat. Feel free to bring your toes on the block behind you as well. Kind of feeling where my knees should go. And then go ahead and bend them here, your elbows. Let your forehead come down. And then maybe you eventually lift your head up off of the block. Try again, maybe without this block behind us. This is just easier for me, I think, without the block behind me, but feel free to use it. Bending my elbows. And then maybe eventually lifting up. And then eventually you can let those arms straighten out as you get more comfortable into Bakasana. So some things to remember when you're moving into Bakasana: pressing through the hands, hugging the shoulders with the knees, bringing those heels close to the butt, as close to the butt as you can, kind of rounding the upper back as you're pressing through, and also finding a focal point, which is also known as your jishti. Find your jishti to help improve your balance. So just finding your focal point, finding that sweet spot, and maybe to begin, you're just lifting one foot at a time. Whatever you feel like you need to do to start warming up to eventually move into your Bakasana. So in the meantime, work on that core strength, work on that balance, and work on that focus. And I'm sure eventually you'll be able to make your way there. I hope this tutorial was helpful for you. If you have any more questions about the pose, leave them down below. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. And thank you for watching. Peace and love.